But so Heather, that and anyone else who Bujo's actually, because Heather and Cori both Bujo. The question was, how do you go about refining and evolving your Bujo to your needs? I had a layout that used to work for me, but it no longer suits my purposes. I'm struggling to find a new one. I guess a new layout, not a new purpose.
I mean, it's really hard to help somebody find a new purpose. So I'm gonna hope for the layout.
Is it like one of those things where you have to you just have to dream up new stuff?
A good tactic is to search and see what other people are using. I like to go look at Instagram because Instagram is a very visual heavy space. So I can look at pictures to see what people are doing.
Yep, there's a lot of hashtags out there.
But ultimately you kind of have to just try a bunch of different layouts.
I should explain, a Bujo is a bullet journal.
Yes.
Yeah, I did not mention that.
It is a journal full of bullet points, not made of bullets. Although I suppose you could do that too.
Enter the Bujo.
You guys collaborate though too.
Yeah, we used to get together and be like, this is what layout I'm trying for this specific thing, because it's customizable is the big thing. It's it's whatever works for you.
There's a bunch of different layouts. The standard Bujo thing is a yearly layout, a monthly layout, and then I think they just do dailies. But a lot of people do weeklies.
Yeah.
I prefer weeklies over dailies myself. But a monthly is basically your month calendar.
With like you would, if you had a calendar hanging in your house and you'd be filling in all the things on the calendar, say I got to do this today, I got to do that today.
That would be considered monthly.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay, but you have that in a journal.
It doesn't have to be in a calendar format though. You could just have numbers in a list, if that works for you. Originally when I started, I did. I would just number the side of the page 1 to 30 or however many days. I would put the day of the week beside it, and then I had it spaced out for morning, afternoon, evening. But I didn't find that worked, and now I'm currently using more of what you would see in a monthly planner with just the calendar laid out.
So you have blocks.
Yeah.
That with a little number in it.
And then I have a side space that's clear for an overall to-do list. That's the other thing too. You can look at what planners do for their layouts because they can work very similar for you.
But it is kind of like a because I know you guys have collaborated with each other, with other people, and going online and looking at stuff. And how do you know when something isn't working for you then?
Because it's a pain in the bus and you don't want to keep doing it.
Or you don't fill it out.
Yeah, you just neglect it.
Okay. So then when something like that happens, it means being mindful of the fact that you're wow, I did this thing, it doesn't work, but I want to track this information. Or maybe it's there's no point in me tracking this information. You have to really be mindful about why you're doing this.
Like a thing I use, I'll do, my weekly spread is over 2 pages opened up where I've made very large squares to divide the week up, but that gives me 8 squares.
Okay.
7 days in a week though. So I used to use a habit tracker on a separate page, but I found that really hard to keep up with. So I used that 8 square as a little habit tracker just for the week.
Okay. I did a thing that was
Or I didn't do a thing. It depends on the habit you want to try to break or create.
Oh, neat. Okay.
But I found keeping it in the weekly spread that I'm always checking worked better than going to a separate page.
There was, so Merlin Mann has a very favorite phrase he said a ton of times, and he says that reading a book about productivity is like buying a chair about jogging.
Yes.
Yes. And so when you guys are doing stuff, it's, the idea is don't be drilling into, obviously it's fun to look at what other people are doing, but a lot of this is also, you need to be doing it, you need to be spending the time doing it.
It's an active tool. The bullet journal is an operating system for a notebook.
Okay.
So it's a thing you're actively using, thing you're engaged with, and you're keeping track of. You're not just making a huge checklist.
Right.
You're actually looking ahead or back and being like, actually, I can't do this right now, but I will want to do this in July.
Right.
And then you like move it to July.
Okay. And it's just basically striking it off on that spot and being
Yeah.
like, now I'll write it in on July,
Well,
so when July comes, I
there's
see it.
a bunch of symbols some people use. They use like an arrow to be like, I move this task forward,
Oh,
or
okay.
I move this task back, or I'm done, or this didn't
Yeah.
work, or whatever.
So a lot of it can just be like coming up with things that are meaningful to you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because I used to like when I would do math problems and I'd get to the end of whatever I was doing and I came up with my final answer, I'd put 2 slashes at the end of the final answer to say like, this means I'm done.
Yeah.
Because I saw a prof do it once and I was like, that's actually really good to be like, I know I got to the end, I know I'm finished, I put 2 slashes to say I'm done. Or the way I used to like draw arrows and stuff was like, this is a thing that now means something to me, so I'm going to keep doing that. And that's kind of the thing is, if you don't like other people's symbolism, you come up with your own or use theirs as
Yeah.
inspiration.
Like,
or,
generally, you start by making your legend or key
right.
about
Yeah.
like what symbols are in the book.
Okay.
Yeah, and then you set up your future log, which is like the whole year, so that you can move stuff from further in the front to the post date it.
Right.
Yeah.
But it is largely about start with something that you're willing to check over and over, and if it's not working for you, you actually have to identify, think about why.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because there could be a multitude of reasons.
Right. Maybe you need 2 journals. You need one to
Maybe-
track different things.
Maybe
somehow.
what you're doing, because this happens to a lot of people when they start out, when you're looking for examples out there, the examples you're going to find are very pretty.
Yes.
Because nobody wants to show off their Bujo layout that's just a list most of the time.
Do not get likes on Instagram for garbage.
So you're gonna find some incredibly pretty things that take a very long time to set up. And I used to do that too when I had more time.
Like people will do like watercolors in their notebooks,
Yeah.
or like these large like mandalas of like tracking their mood, and then they draw it in with like pencil crayons and
Yeah,
brush
and that can be
pens and-
really fun.
Because that's meditative.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But if you don't have time and you let that pile up, then that's just a ball of stress you've given yourself.
Okay.
So you kind of have to be willing to just let that go.
Okay. That's something that reminds me a lot of David Allen's getting things done methodology, where
It's similar to GTD.
where you're really thinking like, if you need, everyone needs to have a system that they're able to follow themselves. Like when you're doing your system, it's like if you're developing a system that's so fiddly, you're just not going to do it.
You can do GTD with a bullet journal.
Right. Okay. And it kind of it supports that idea of the point is to get comfortable with a system that you want to use, and then the other thing too is like he says, find a day of the week that you're willing to sit down and say, even if I can't do it every day, at least I know that I have one day of the week when I can process everything that's gone into my inbox and like I want to put into my journals.
Any planning system that you're doing, if you're not actually giving yourself time to use, especially if you're trying to do long-term planning, you're not going to have time to really do a lot with it.
Okay. So I guess then the advice for this person is if they are finding themselves unable to deal with the layout, it's like there is no magic layout.
No.
It's down to you reevaluating why you're doing it, what you're trying to track, what behaviors you're trying to instill, and then maybe it's just down to start by making a list that says, here's the things that are important to me that I want to track.
And also you can actually just like make scrap paper and doodle and like rip out pages and stuff like that. So
Okay.
you can like set up measurements and things like that. You can
Yeah.
try things out
Right.
Maybe
for a bit of time and then abandon it, throw it in the
maybe,
trash.
maybe your layout just needs a little tweaking.
Right.
There might just be like a small part that you need to rearrange.
Okay.
Maybe you want to try a whole new layout. I find if you try a whole new layout, especially if it's for something bigger,
Mm-hmm.
and if you see parts in it you don't like but that you do, you might even be able to combine parts of the new layout with the older layout that
Okay.
you did like.
Neat. Okay.
It takes a lot of testing,
Yeah.
which is annoying, but
Yeah, but you're building something customized just for you, so
Yeah.
clearly it has to take some time.
yeah.
It's like
I used to run two, one for personal and one for work.
okay.
And so like the one that was like, let's check what my team's doing on the bug tracker is very different from like, I have to do laundry.
Right. Okay. I hate writing.
Yeah, I know.
Like I hate the physical act of
You
writing.
don't have to.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can just type on a keyboard.
I
Yeah.
will say I've never found it bullet journal app that I've liked,
Yeah.
Yeah.
because those exist, but
But they're not
weird.
widely customizable in the way that
No.
you want to give people that you can do when you're just willing to draw a thing on
Yeah,
paper.
they don't really work great in that regard.
Yeah. Otherwise, it's practically like programming your own interface.
Yeah. That said, if you find a planner layout that you really like, just go for that.
Yeah.
Like you can still bujo with a lot of planner layouts.
You got that new one that was very interesting, where it's weeks that lay down and the week flips up, and it takes that week away from your viewing and stuff. And I thought that was a really cool idea.
It is. It's super cool. It's called the Kokuyo Patmi. JetPens has it. I emailed them the other day because I was looking for the 2020 year,
Yeah.
and they haven't put it up yet, and some 2020 planners have been up there.
Yeah.
And they emailed me back to let me know that the manufacturer no longer makes those, and so I will not be able to purchase a thing. And I'm sad because I just found out about it literally a month ago.
Woo!
Had the set that I was working with.
Do you do jet pen orders?
Yeah.
Let me know when you do.
Yeah, we'll let you know.
Because like shipping jet
Yeah.
pens
Yeah.
to Canada is
Always
Yeah.
grip
brutal.
Them. Yeah.
Yeah. So I need to see if I can. I'm tempted to see if I can just make my own replacements, but I don't know if I wanna. I don't know if I wanna.
Page folding is so cool.
Yeah. Yeah. It's
Yeah.
it's like it's like
I have it.
it's
here,
like tabs in a way.
but I don't.
Yeah, no, you don't wanna show it
can't-
off.
I can't show the things that are on it
If
because
you-
there's a lot of work-related stuff on
The
there.
way to explain it, I guess, is that it's like when you open the cover, there's every individual week, but each individual week is on its own sheet. So you actually, as you fold it over,
Yeah,
it's getting further and further
It's
down.
layered in such a way that you can see the whole month, but there are grids for the day of just the week that's currently at the tallest point, and when you flip it over, that week goes away, but you see the rest of the month, and underneath that page is a new one. I mean, JetPens has a really good picture on their site.
Yeah.
I'm sure people could look up.
All right,
But yeah, I'm very sad about that.
I have a thank you for that. I appreciate that. We got a chance to talk about that.